Welcome back to A Slice of News, where I cut you off a slice of news. President Trump spent Christmas doing what he always seems to do, which is rant incoherently on social media like someone's unsupervised grandpa on Facebook, wishing a Merry Christmas to all, including the many sleazebags who loved Jeffrey Epstein, gave him bundles of money, then went to his island, attended his parties, and thought he was the greatest guy on earth, only to drop him like a dog when things got too hot. Falsely claimed they did nothing to do with him, didn't know him, said he was a disgusting person, despite the fact he had literally just described himself. He attributed that to anyone but himself, and going on to claim essentially that he dropped Jeffrey Epstein before it was cool. Then, of course, had to go on about how the push for the release of the Epstein files was a radical left witch hunt, but also that when the files do get released, all the names are going to be Democrats. And there will be a lot of explaining to do. So in his mind, the Epstein files are both a complete Democrat hoax that are falsely trying to implicate President Donald Trump, but also it's going to implicate the Democrats, and they'll have to explain. So I'm not sure how it can be both things at the same time, but logic left this conversation a long time ago. But I guess really it's just the old, if it's anything bad about me, it's fake. If it's anything bad about my enemies, it's true. That he's always been pushing, which of course is complete nonsense, but when is anything he says not? And of course it wouldn't be Donald Trump if he didn't mention the failing New York Times, who he claimed had to apologize for their bad and faulty election reportings, even to the point of losing many subscribers due to their highly inaccurate, fake coverage. Given how long he's been claiming the New York Times has been failing, you would think they would have gone out of business long ago. He then ended that particular Donald Trump brand social media post by saying, "Enjoy what may be your last Merry Christmas," which I guess means that it's not a Trump Christmas without a vague threat to his enemies, though exactly what he's implying here is a bit unclear. It does seem to suggest that his enemies are having a Merry Christmas, and he certainly isn't, so are they the ones doing better than him here? Sure, he says it's their last Merry Christmas, but they're having a Merry Christmas. He's spending a day that's supposed to be about coming together and being with your family, posting unhinged nonsense on social media. So I'd have to ask, who's the real loser here, Donnie? Doesn't look like it's them. This is a guy who posted over 150 different posts on Christmas, most of which were not even Christmas related. They were all about his political enemies, and those that he feels has betrayed him have become his political enemies. I guess from one perspective, it's kind of sad that this old man had nothing better to do on Christmas than to just be angrily posting on social media over 100 times. There was a time which now feels ages in the past where a president would send messages of unity and Christmas spirit to all Americans, not specifying to which ones, and only not just the ones who voted for him, and make disparaging remarks about those who did not. But I guess this is the new normal now. This is the standard that we have. To say these sorts of messages are not very presidential almost goes without saying, but at the same time are entirely expected. In a lot of ways, that's pretty sad. Though speaking of sad, he probably had time to do all these scores of social media posts because, unlike many other families, his own family probably had no desire to spend Christmas with him. I questioned if he maybe had anything better to do on Christmas than post on social media about the radical left. But maybe he didn't. Maybe this was all he had to do with his free time because his family did not want to spend Christmas around him. And honestly, I can't say I blame them. If he was part of my family, I don't think I could stand to spend Christmas around him either. And shouldn't the supposedly very Christian president be doing something at least tangentially Jesus-y on Christmas, Jesus' birthday? Ranting about your enemies and how great you are doesn't strike me as very Jesus-like or Christmassy. And of course, his Christmas-related nonsense was not relegated purely to Christmas Day. He had plenty to do on Christmas Eve, such as when he spoke to children as part of the annual NORAD tracking of Santa, where a child was asked what they wanted for Christmas, and she said, "Not coal," and he responded, "You mean clean, beautiful coal? Sorry, I had to do it. I'm sorry. No, Coal is clean and beautiful. Please remember that at all costs. But you do want clean, beautiful coal, right? What would you like? He's trying to promote coal to a child, the thing that is commonly known to be a bad thing that Santa only gives to bad children. Trump is actually trying to be like, oh no, little girl, actually, coal is great. It's actually almost impressive how many times he was able to lie just in that short exchange. He said he had to do that. He did not. He said he was sorry. He was not. And he went on about how clean coal was, which it is not. But trying to sell an 8-year-old child on the greatness of coal seems bad enough. But in typical Trump fashion, he found a way to be even worse. And speaking to a boy from Oklahoma, he said, we track Santa all over the world. We want to make sure that Santa is being good. We want to make sure he's not infiltrated, that we're not infiltrating into our country a bad Santa. I'm honestly not sure what in his addled mind a bad Santa even would be. He usually demonizes people who go around giving people things for free, especially giving things to children for free. But that's just regular Santa. Giving things away for free, dressing in red. He sounds like a socialist. But regardless of what in his mind constitutes a bad Santa, why did he feel the need to tell this poor child this? To instill into his young mind the fear of infiltration by evil Santa. I guess nothing says Christmas like telling a child the Aerospace Defense Command is watching Santa to make sure he's good. I suppose implying that if he's not, they're going to shoot missiles at him. And of course, he had to interject, Santa loves Oklahoma like I do. You know, Oklahoma, but very good to be in the election, so I love Oklahoma. Don't ever leave Oklahoma, okay? I assume implying that this child would be a future Donald Trump voter, so he has to stay in Oklahoma so he can vote for Trump. Which, of course, if that were the case, makes no sense, because by the time that child reaches voting age, Donald Trump will almost definitely no longer be alive. Also, why was he telling this child about how good Oklahoma was for him in the election? This child doesn't know anything about voting. It is a child. Bragging to him about how good Donald Trump did there in the election means nothing to him. I know it's Donald Trump's narcissism and need for self-aggrandizement, but it's just so out of place because it has nothing to do with what this child has called in for. And definitely does not care that Donald Trump loves the state they're from, because the state he lives in voted for Donald Trump. And it did not stop with this Oklahoma child. When he talked to a child from Pennsylvania, he said, I know Pennsylvania is great. We won Pennsylvania actually 3 times. I bet your mom voted properly. Even if we ignore the part where he told a child he hoped their parent voted properly, meaning for him, he did in fact not win Pennsylvania 3 times because he lost in 2020 to Joe Biden. I know he wants to push this notion that he did not, but he absolutely did. And this poor child who does not know anything about presidential elections absolutely did not call to hear about his numerous election wins, or at least supposed election wins. Making the Christmas time about politics is one thing. Making it all about himself, also bad. But why he felt the need to insert politics to children just feels extra wrong. Was he hoping that once they hung up with him that they would say, wow, actually, Mom, I love coal, and Donald Trump actually did win the 2020 election. When I grow up, I hope I can vote for someone as great as Donald J. Trump. No clue, but honestly, I would not put it past him. I was going to say that clearly children aren't safe around him, but from what we know from the Epstein files, children were never safe around Donald Trump. But all told, whether it was unhinged and repeated social media postings or inappropriate conversations with the children, Donald Trump did not treat Christmas with any sort of decorum or respect, which I suppose is right on brand for Donald Trump. He made Christmas not about a happy fat man in red, but an angry fat man in orange. If the President of the United States can't take one day out of the year to just be civil and normal and decent, just for 24 hours, it really speaks to just how bad things are in our country right now. Christmas should be a day of hope and togetherness. But the way Donald Trump was acting on Christmas, it seems like he didn't have either of those things. I've said it so many times at this point. We really should expect better from the President of the United States. But Donald Trump has kept that bar so low that no matter how awful future presidents will be, they can at least say, well, at least they're not as bad as Donald Trump was. Honestly, I'd wonder if he feared this was his last Merry Christmas, but I don't get the sense he had a Merry Christmas in the first place. It really makes me wonder where the 3 Christmas ghosts when you need them, so they could get him to change his ways. Though at this point, I don't know if he's even capable of doing that, even with some spectral assistance. Alright guys, that'll be it for this episode of A Slice of News. I've been your host, Mr. Slice, and until next time, when I cut you off, another Slice of News.